Support for Trifles comes from listeners like you, who support us through Patreon and Substack. Bonus material, thank you gifts, and more await at patreon.com/trifles and at trifles.substack.com. And now you can enjoy some Trifles swag, mugs, notepads, and oval stickers, available in our store. Find it at ihearofsherlock.com/merchandise.
Welcome to Trifles, a weekly podcast about the Sherlock Holmes stories.
It is, of course, a trifle, but there is nothing so important as trifles.
Yes, the beaches were copper, the pince-nez was golden, and the blaze was silver, but there are so many other details to pick apart in the stories.
Pray, be precise as to details.
You know the plots, but what about the minutiae? Have you ever stopped to wonder about the difference between Holmes's pipes? Or how often he smoked cigars versus cigarettes? Or what Egyptian cigarettes are like?
You are very inquisitive, Mr. Holmes.
It is my business to know what other people don't know.
Scott Monty and Bert Wolder will have the answers to these questions and more in Trifles.
The game's afoot.
Episode 501. The Spies Who Never Were. Well, hello there, and welcome to Trifles, the Sherlock Holmes podcast where we get into the details in the Sherlock Holmes stories. I'm Scott Monty.
I'm Bert Wolder.
And Bert, have you come in from the cold?
I've come in from the cold. I've come in with my detail. In fact, they're right now taking off their boots in the mudroom.
Once again.
Yeah. Those
must be the messy folk of was it the Junior Carlton Club or the Marlboro Club?
It's the Junior Carltons.
Yeah.
I have donuts for them.
They get munchkins, though, because they're the Junior Carlton Club.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That goes farther.
Yeah. Folks, if you're not aware of that reference, it is to episode 339 of I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere, our most recent episode on our interview show. We spoke to Seth Thivo about Clubland, about clubs in Victorian England, and he, I think, definitively determined which club was the Diogenes Club. So you might want to check over there and give that a listen. We'll have a link in the show notes so you can check that out. But today, this is the first week of the month, and that means it is time for a Morley Montgomery Award-winning article. In this case, we have The Spies Who Never Were, with some observations on Holmes's retirement by Michael Pollock. This appeared in 2010 in the Baker Street Journal, Volume 60, Number 2, and it won the award for the best article of the year. Stay tuned for that because it is straight ahead. Meantime, please check us out on Patreon and Substack. Just go to substack.trifles.com or patreon.com/trifles. You know, I mentioned in the last episode, it was a slight error. I mentioned that all of our subscribers were eligible to win a free back issue of the Baker Street Journal. And while I would love that to be true, well, our prize wheel isn't large enough to accommodate all of you. It is, however, large enough to accommodate our paying subscribers, and those are the folks who are eligible to win every month, a drawing that we do for a free back issue of the Baker Street Journal. You also get to listen to the show ad-free if you are on either one of those platforms, and you can sync it up with your podcast listening device of choice. So check that out, see which works for you, and make sure you are part of the crew that is eligible to win. Okay, we find ourselves back in 2010, is it 2 years ago now? Time flies around these parts. Yeah, I know. We have an article by Michael Pollock.
We do.
Who is Michael?
Michael, well, boy, I hadn't prepared to. I mean, I know Michael. He.
You want me to read the part, and then you can talk about your personal association with him, or?
Well, yeah. Oh, I didn't read. Yeah, I didn't read the bio. I remember that he's a now retired editor from the New York Times.
Yeah, from the Metropolitan desk of the New York Times. He, at the time, wrote the Sunday column FYI about New York City life, and compiled the Metropolitan Diary, a weekly collection of reader letters. He was invested in the Baker Street Irregulars as the Blue Carbuncle.
Yeah, there you go. He's written a lovely essay here in at a unique time. It's 2010, as we told you, and it marked the 101 year anniversary of MI5, and so there was a lot of activity there which stimulated Michael down this path. He begins The Spies Who Never Were with some observation on Holmes's retirement by telling us that MI5, the British Security Service, was organized in 1909 to track down foreign, particularly German, espionage in Britain. And to mark its 100th anniversary, amazingly enough, the agency commissioned an authorized history, which he then talks about and points out that even having read it, some secrets are still secret. What has been published about Sherlock Holmes's brushes with spies in the Bruce Partington plan, the Naval Treaty, the Second Stain, and most of all, his last bow are models of reticence and accuracy. And to understand how disciplined they were, you need to compare that to the spy frenzy that engulfed the British public in the years leading up to World War I. Well, the chief investigator of these panics that Michael then takes us to is the writer William Le Queux, allegedly Princess Alexandra's favorite novelist. He published 7 novels in 1907, 6 in 1908, 5 in 1909. He was sort of the Tom Clancy of pre-war Britain. And he had a thing for alliteration. His books, his characters include a dashing barrister named Ray Raymond and his good friend John James Jaycox and the lovely Vera Valance and so on. Well, anyway, The Spies of the Kaiser, which is this book by William Le Queux, says Michael, was reprinted in 1996 and is available for acquiring not for a minor reason, he says, not first of all, to know how not to write a spy novel, but also a major one. There's a 1996 introduction by the intelligence historian Nicholas Hiley, who describes the close relationship between Le Queux and the real-life head of MO5. And that is, worth the penny, he says. Conan Doyle and Le Queux were both members of the Crime Club, also known as Our Society or the Murder Club, a convivial group of writers and lawyers who like to discuss trials. Like Le Queux, Conan Doyle had contacts within the military and intelligence establishment. In the latter's case, ever since his research on the build-up to the Boer War. From there, they differed sharply. As the threat to Britain's security increased, in the run-up to the First World War, Arthur was at least partially in the loop and would have known not to boast of his contacts in the secret world. Le Queux, on the other hand, titillated his readers with profuse references to his intimate knowledge of the British Security Service.
Boy, he could have completely doomed the empire at that point if he wanted to. But, in looking at the Bruce Partington plans, we realize that there's an intelligence system here that's being financed by funds smuggled through the parliamentary defense estimates in order to obtain a monopoly on the submarine invention. And, of course, Mycroft informs Sherlock that only 3 men in London are capable of carrying out such intelligence, or such an intelligence coup. 2 of them have German names, and 1 is French. The rest are the usual small fry. So no invisible army. The military feet of our companions and Mycroft are also on the ground and stressing the importance of submarine warfare. And the Naval Treaty, Michael reminds us, that that doesn't even list Germany among the nations that are part of that treaty. Of course, we have, in the Second Stain, we have the intemperate monarch who wrote the inflammatory letter, almost surely being Kaiser Wilhelm II. And the blackmailer is decidedly un-German. That's Eduardo Lucas, with a residence in Paris. France again. No army of spies from any country. So when we turn to his last bow, Michael notes that it should again be noted that Germany in 1914 did have a naval intelligence network in Britain. And that was directed by Gustav Steinhauer. And he passed information about the Royal Navy to Berlin during peacetime. And he used intermediaries between him and his British agents. And he had primitive recruitment methods. Michael says one might even call them direct mail marketing. Using an alias and a cover address in Potsdam, he wrote to German citizens living in Britain asking them to spy. It's simple as that. Tear off your coupon, mail it back in, folks. Use this self-addressed stamped envelope, and you too can be part of our spy network. But he says the security service soon had a record of his aliases and addresses.
Amazing.
So they were able to figure this out. And Home Secretary Winston Churchill, no less, he overrode the post office opposing this intrusion into the mail service. And within the first 12 days of the war, thanks to these checking up on these letters and the cooperation of the local authorities, 22 naval spies were rounded up, greater than the total staff of the security service at the time.
There were no other arrests before or after that period, but no spy army. And so Michael is telling us here about Conan Doyle's view and point out that he's in the loop so that Conan Doyle's account of a lot of these activities, what he has Holmes and Watson engaged in with spies and so on, is significantly, says Michael, more accurate than Le Queux and these other writers. And he goes on to point out that his last bow corresponds closely with all these facts. There is a German intermediary, von Bork, and a relatively small number of spies, 5 of whom have been rounded up by the 2nd of August, the night of the story, thanks to Holmes, when von Bork proudly shows Baron von Herling, the embassy secretary, the pigeonholes in his safe. Most of the categories named are naval: harbor defenses, Portsmouth forts, the Channel, Rosyth, naval signals. When von Bork brags of his trusted spy Altamont, which is, of course, Holmes, due any minute from Portsmouth, he implies his spy's usefulness is purely naval. I guess he was a naval gazer. In our code, everything likely to come up is named after some spare part. If he talks of a radiator, it is a battleship, of an oil pump, a cruiser, and so on. Sparking plugs are naval signals, and the spy ring is broken at the outbreak of war, just as Steinhauer's real German naval ring was done in.
Excellent. Well, there is one other service Holmes performed for British intelligence, and this is alluded to by Holmes in his last bow. It's a little joke he plays on von Bork. He shows him the book with the strangely irrelevant inscription, which von Bork thought would be a treasure trove of British naval signals. And here we have a quote directly from his last bow. "But you had retired, Holmes. We heard nothing of you, as living the life of a hermit down among your bees and your books in a small farm upon the South Downs." "Exactly, Watson. Here is the fruit of my leisured ease, the magnum opus of my latter years." He picked up the volume from the table and read out the whole title, "Practical Handbook of Bee Culture, with some observations upon the segregation of the queen. Alone I did it. Behold, the fruit of pensive nights and laborious days, when I watched the little working gangs, as once I watched the criminal gangs of London." So no naval codes there, simply, literally, a practical handbook of bee culture.
Yeah. Well, now Michael wraps up the story here and connects this all very nicely and neatly to what all this means in terms of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson's participation. His first observation is that MI5, by the way, it finally acquired that name in 1916, was only one part of the British intelligence apparatus. This included MI6, the espionage abroad wing of British intelligence, Scotland Yard's special branch, and the Admiralty's Cipher Bureau, which was under the Director of Naval Intelligence, the legendary Admiral Sir William Reginald Blinker Hall.
Oh, good old Pinker Blinker.
It had an immense code-cracking department, which mastered many of Germany's secret messages during the war, and the department was named after the small office where it began, Room 40. The greatest triumph of Room 40 was laboriously decrypting the Zimmermann telegram, the 1917 message by Germany's foreign minister to Mexico, offering a deal. Mexico invades the United States with German and Japanese help, keeping America too busy for the European conflict. In return, it gets back Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico after Germany wins. Britain, after a suitable delay to disguise that it had broken the code, handed the translated message to an instantly outraged United States, which declared war on Germany within weeks.
And we all know that that deal with Mexico was rejected because once Mexico had a good look at Albuquerque, they took a left turn.
Left turn at Albuquerque.
Michael's second observation is that Room 40 needed help. It was hampered by its narrow preference for language experts and classicists. Only toward World War II did the ultra-secret British Cryptanalysis Office realize that code breaking was primarily mathematical, not linguistic. It then shifted its recruiting focus to what Simon Singh in the code book called a bizarre combination of mathematicians, scientists, linguists, classicists, chess grandmasters, and crossword addicts. That's a nice group of people. It sounds like everyone who might be contestants on Jeopardy.
Well, Michael's third observation takes us back to where Holmes is in retirement. He says, the South Downs are beautiful and scenic. Nice farms, aromatic pollen-producing flowers. Also, they are just northeast of the Portsmouth Naval Base, which was keenly interested in coded German messages. And his fourth observation is, this practical handbook of bee culture is still top secret. We know what it's about, but we've not been allowed to look at it. And then his fifth observation, the greatest bee scientist of the 20th century, Carl von Frisch, received his doctorate in 1910 and published his first paper on bee behavior in 1914 and 1915. His work would have been closely followed and possibly anticipated by Holmes. Von Frisch won the Nobel Prize in 1973 for his more than 50 years of apian research, demonstrated that bees have language. It's not a language of sounds, but one of movements. Returning to the hive, a scout will signal the distance and direction to the food she has discovered by a series of dances. Round dances, waggle dances, figure-8 dances. A book of bee behavior, using research into these signals, would be filled with sketches of worker bees, each following a slightly different path, each with its antennae and feet in slightly different positions. Dancing.
And that gets us to the final observation. Holmes? Drawings of little dancing figures? Signals? Holmes's stick-like sketches of little working gangs, rows and rows of bees, slightly altered for his special gilt-edged edition, would have been an ingenious and ironic way to disguise his own translations of German codes. Von Bork did not realize just how great a trick had been played on him. Before his eyes, titled with its strangely irrelevant inscription, as von Bork says, lay the most important intelligence document he would ever see, and one safely back in Holmes's pocket that was on its way to the Admiralty the next morning. Well, I don't know about you, Bert, but I feel like a nice big bowl of honeycomb.
And that is just a trifle.
It is, of course, a trifle, but there is nothing so important as trifles.
Please join us again next week for another installment of Trifles. Show notes are available on SherlockHolmesPodcast.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and be sure to check out our longer show, I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere, where we interview notable Sherlockians and share news of the Sherlockian world.
You've taken my breath away, Mr. Holmes.
There are only 3 men capable of playing so bold a game. Oberstein, La Rothiere, and Eduardo Lucas. Even now, if we could be sure which one of them has taken it, it is just possible that it does not pass out of their hands.